Now I'm going to present a classical problem in the philosophy of mind, namely the problem of mental causation. So first here we'll see a set of 5 claims that most philosophers of mind accept. Together they constitute the position of non-reductive physicalism. So it's the middle position, and you could say, between substance dualism on the one hand and reductive physicalism on the other hand. So that's the sort of middle ground where most philosophers lie. And there are good reasons to believe in all of these 5 claims, but the problem is that they contradict each other. So let's have a look at that. First claim, causal closure, is a principle that says that if a physical event has a cause at t, at a point of time, a certain point of time, then it has a sufficient physical cause at that point of time. So what it says is that if something happens, a physical event, then it has a physical cause. And it's been confirmed many times, so we have good inductive reason to believe that. We look for causes, then we find physical causes, and we don't find non-physical causes. And also the principle of conservation of energy supports this this principle. Then if there was a lot of non-physical causes moving around physical things, then the laws of conservation of energy wouldn't work. Second claim is that mental properties supervene on physical properties, and supervene means something supervenes on a base if there cannot be a change in it unless there is a change in the base. So what that means is that when we're talking about mental properties here, we are interested in consciousness. So it means that consciousness supervenes on the brain, which again is to say that there can't be a change in your conscious experience unless there's a change in the brain. And most people believe that as well, and we've seen plenty of reasons to believe so. The term physical, of course, is tricky, but we can define it at least by some characteristics, saying that we have access to physical things through a third-person perspective, but the consciousness we have access to from a first-person perspective. Physical things and properties, they are made out of elementary particles that we know from the Standard Model, whereas consciousness does not seem to be made out of elementary particles. So you could say whatever normal physical things like chairs and rocks, etc., are made of, that's physical things, but non-physical things will not be made of the same things that chairs and rocks, etc., are made of. So claim C then says that mental properties are not reducible to physical properties. That can be understood in different ways, but in a wide sense then of supervention and this principle, it will say that consciousness is not physical, and that's what I'm going to claim and defend now in the following videos. And we've seen the reasons to believe that as well. They have all these properties that doesn't seem to be physical. Mental properties are causally efficacious, or consciousness is causally efficacious. Means that when we have conscious thoughts, like I want to raise my arm and then do it, it seems that these conscious thoughts and desires and feelings, etc., can have effects. And we experience this, and we have reason to believe it, since why would evolution make all humans conscious if it didn't have any effect? It seems there must be some useful reason to make people conscious. And finally then, one could accept A to D just by saying that, well, every time there's an event, it has a double set of causes. It has both physical and non-physical causes, but that's what we're rejecting in claim E. There's no systematic overdetermination. It's not that every time you have both physical and non-physical causes of an event. Maybe sometimes you can have 2 causes of an event, like 2 persons shooting someone and both causing that he dies, but it's not systematically the case. So okay, 5 claims that we have good reason to believe, and the problem is then that they contradict each other. It's an inconsistent set, because if we say that, well, consciousness is not physical, but it has causal effect, then that's contradicted by saying that, well, physical causes are sufficient and there's no systematic overdetermination. It's not as if there's always a conscious cause in addition. So the first 2, or C and D, says that consciousness has a causal effect. A and E says that consciousness does not have a causal effect. That's a contradiction. Can't be true. But it's problematic no matter how you try to solve this. It's problematic to deny a causal role for consciousness. That's the position of epiphenomenalism, and we see that a few people believe that. Again, why would evolution select for consciousness if it's just a shadow with no effect? It's difficult to accept or problematic to say that, well, there is non-physical consciousness which has causal effects, because then you get the interaction problem that we know from Descartes. And it's problematic to reject that non-physical consciousness exists at all. That's a position of reductive physicalism, and we saw that it's criticized for just explaining away this experience we have of consciousness as being something special, unique, non-physical, something that we have first-person perspective access to, something different from just brain activity, since there is a lot of non-conscious brain activity. It seems you get a problem in any case then. We have reason to believe that consciousness is causal because of evolution. We have reasons to believe that it's not causal because of the causal closure principle and the conservation of, or the principle of conservation of energy. So you're in trouble in any case. So how are we going to understand the causal role of consciousness and the problem of mental causation? I am going to defend all these 5 claims, but it depends on how we understand them. And I'm going to solve it by using a distinction that I have not seen anyone else use. It's a distinction between brain activity, which is connected to qualia or conscious experiences, and brain activity connected to physical events and things, etc. For instance, then the distinction between brain activity connected to a conscious experience of a horse and brain activity connected to the physical horse in the world. And of course, these are very similar, but there are some important differences as well that we can use to explain why evolution has selected brains connected to conscious experiences, which are similar to and still a bit different from the physical events that they represent. So that's going to be able to show that that consciousness can have a causal role without violating this principle of causal closure. But I'm going to need some videos to explain the details of this, and we'll start by looking at how evolution could select for consciousness, and that will be the topic of the next video.